What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Talkin ATL Hogs podcast. Of course, as always, I am joined by my co-hosts Chase and John Joyner, talking to you everything Hogs basketball. Of course, in our last episode, it was a little bit shortened because Chase and I had a lot going on that day. We had to lead to Kennesaw pretty early on Sunday. It was a very very busy day, but we did have to touch on the crucial trade that went down between the Mavs and the Lakers, sending the best player in basketball when he's healthy to the Los Angeles Lakers to be paired with LeBron James, who is still dropping triple doubles at the age of 40. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, we saw how bad the Lakers embarrassed the Pacers yesterday without LeBron James or Luka even on the court.
It was Austin Reeves by himself. He dropped 45 points.
So, that was crazy. That was insane.
It was absolutely insane. So just imagine what the Lakers are going to be capable of when LeBron James and Luka get on the courts together. Even if they are down a big man, I would be willing to take a big man, an empty big man spot for the best player in basketball every day of the week, 7 times.
Oh, no,
I don't even know what I'm trying to say. No, but welcome back to the podcast, everybody.
Sorry, I don't know what I was going to say. Well, I was going to say something about – well, actually, I guess I was talking about Williams I was going to just bring up the fact that they were getting a big man, Williams from Charlotte.
True.
Then trade for Kennett, and then, of course, Joyner informed us last night. I had no idea about this until Joyner pointed out, but I guess Williams failed his physical, which ended the trade, and now Williams is going right back to Charlotte. Kennett's going to L.A.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's cool for LA because Dalton Connect's been a dog this year, and he was a really good draft pickup, a really sneaky one. I think he was a very underrated draft pick. But I really fear that come postseason time when the Lakers go up against these bigger teams, they're just going to have a hard time. But I don't know. I could be wrong because I'm interested to see what happens when LeBron and Luka finally share a court together and see what happens. I mean, I've always been worried about the Lakers defense this year. But Jordan, what do you think?
I mean, like I said in the group chat, like nothing like that short-term trade. That trade was not going to fix the Hornets' ongoing problem. Like right now, like that organization is such an mess right now. Like, I don't know what's going to – I don't even think Jesus Christ himself can fix that organization. I'm not saying –
oh, my gosh.
I know I should be saying stuff like that.
I think what he means is it's going to take a miracle.
Yeah. It's going to take a miracle.
It would take Jesus ascending from heaven to take over that organization for it to go somewhere.
Yeah, like Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball, arguably. This is a debate between LeBron and Jordan, but I think we all can agree it's Jordan. Jordan can fix that franchise. In fact, he probably dug it deeper into the ground. I mean, like,
listen, and I think the funniest thing about the Mark Williams trade, which is absolutely hilarious to me, is after the trade was reversed and Mark Williams went back to Charlotte, the Hornets released a statement saying, "Oh, when we let go of Mark Williams, our hearts were heavy. We had to make a big business decision and we didn't want to do it, but we felt forced to. And now that he's back, our hearts are cheerful." I'm like, shut up. You know, deep down inside, they are crying because they didn't get Dalton Connect.
I will say,
they do not care a single thing about Mark Williams.
I will say, Mark Williams deserves some respect, though.
Over Dalton Connect, though. About not getting Dalton Connect, why don't you just draft him? The Hornets the draft. What pick did the Hornets have in that draft? And they took some other guy over Dalton Connect. Dalton Connect went 17 to the Lakers. The Hornets had the 11th pick of the draft. I can't remember, but they had a better pick than the Lakers in that draft. Why didn't you just draft them?
You know what's
life's the biggest question.
They had the next Grayson Allen right there in reach, because this is the same thing with Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen, if you remember, fell low and I guess lower than people expected him to during his draft. And a lot of people are talking about, oh, he's just a shooter. He's been in college for 4 years. He's already almost, 24 years old, or whatever. He's like, and he's just a spot-up shooter. How big of a piece can he actually be? And look at Grayson Allen on Phoenix. He's one of the most important pieces on that Suns team. And Dalton Connect's going to be the exact same thing with the Lakers. He is Kyle Korver. Kyle Korver was just a spot shooter, and he was one of the most lethal shooters the league saw in history. For the longest time, he was top 10 in most three-pointers made.
He still is.
I think he's out of the top 10.
No, he's dropped a little bit. I think he went from 7th to like 8th or 9th. He's still in the top 10.
Who passed him? Do we know who passed him?
I know.
Wasn't it LeBron?
LeBron passed him, and there was another player that passed him. LeBron and somebody else. I cannot remember who it was.
He's still in the top 10, though. But there will be a time when he drops out, though. It will happen.
For sure. Like, no one's disputing that. I mean.
But basically, the message of my sermon here is put some respect on spot-up shooters. Spot-up shooters are more lethal than people think.
Hey, look, guys, I know we have to talk Hawks basketball. We're only 6 minutes into the episode.
I forgot this was a Hawks podcast.
How can I pretend? How can we pretend that another blockbuster trade did not go down, actually involving 3 teams? So I'll give out the details as if you don't already know it, and then we'll just talk about it. So, of course, Jimmy Butler, we know the whole persona of what was going on between him and Miami. Initially, Jimmy Butler announced to the world that he has lost his love for the game of basketball.
Petty.
And he wants to find his joy again. And he openly proclaimed that his joy of basketball can no longer be found in South Beach. So where did he go? He's still at the beach, but he went to the Bay Area, baby. The Golden State Warriors via the Miami Heat got 2 second-round picks via the Heat and cash considerations via the Heat. So what did the Heat receive? Now, Jimmy Butler, I know he wasn't playing for you guys, but you got to look back at the legacy he left in Miami. Brought him to 2 NBA finals, fell short of both finals, but still 2 conference finals. Unbelievable performance by Jimmy Butler. Some of the best playoff runs we have ever seen from the Miami Heat came from the hands of Jimmy Butler.
Not to mention the 2020 finals. He brought that series to 6 games practically by himself.
And he was gassed. There's that famous picture of him just leaning on the advertising table, just absolutely gassed. But the Heat, don't fret, my friends. The Heat got a wonderful package in return. I absolutely love what the Heat got. They got Andrew Wiggins, who's been averaging over 20 this year. Kyle Anderson is a very underrated forward in this league. Devon Mitchell, not to be confused with Donovan Mitchell. Devon Mitchell from the Raptors and a 2025 first-round pick that's protected. Now, the Jazz and the Pistons and the Raptors were also involved in this trade. I'm going to skip over the Jazz. We don't care about you, Utah. The Pistons, though, funny enough, received Dennis Schroeder and Lindy Waiters III and a 31 second-round pick. But Dennis Schroeder, who is known to be the Fitzpatrick of the NBA, got thrown away from the Pistons. And now
opposite. He got traded. The original trade sent him to Utah, but Utah gave him right back to Detroit.
And then the Raptors received P.J. Tucker and some cash considerations. And, of course, we already know about the Brandon Ingram trade that they got. So the Raptors killed it in the deadline. Sorry, I know we went on an 8-minute rant about, unrelated to Hawks basketball. But in a way, it is related to Hawks basketball because the trade deadline affects the entire league. And we're not going to just act like the craziest trade deadline, one of the craziest in NBA history, did not just go down.
No. I'm saying the craziest.
I agree. I completely agree.
Like, I think the only way that a future trade deadline could top this is if I'm gonna say Anthony Edwards gets traded and Devin Booker gets traded in the same deadline.
It'd give the same energy. The same energy. And look, Dallas fans, if you want to sit here, or not even just Dallas fans, NBA fans in general, if you want to sit here and try to defend this trade in any way, Jackson Voles, I'm looking at you. Let me just give you this. AD in his very first team practice injured himself, non-contact. His very first game with the Mavericks. Now, AD was having an incredible game. Got injured via non-contact, which, by the way, and a little update on that, he says he's fine. He says that the injury is not that big of a deal. But this is just the calm before the storm. What? Yeah. Listen, I'm telling you, I mean, he hasn't even been on the team for a week, and 2 times Dallas fans have been holding their breath, thinking they just lost Anthony Davis. I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but don't be surprised if out of nowhere AD gets some kind of tragic injury that lays him out for months or possibly the season, because that's what's happened in the last 3 years to Anthony Davis. His body's just not as strong and as durable as it used to be, and it has cost him time in and time out. So Dallas fans, this is what you you didn't ask for this, but the organization, this is what they gave you.
Yes, and listen, we've got a glimpse already of the newcomers for all these different teams making their debut. I mean, we saw what Jimmy Butler did last night, absolutely scorched the second half after a really bad first half and made a thunderous comeback against the Chicago Bulls, also accompanied by Steph Curry's 30-point game. But needless to say, in Jimmy Butler's post-game interview, he made it very profound that he ended off. It was kind of beautiful. I'm not a big Jimmy Butler fan because I don't think he handled the Miami situation in a very professional manner.
A very mature way.
But I have to say, this was kind of like a romance moment. Jimmy Butler just looked at the camera and he said, in Miami, I kind of lost my joy for basketball. He said, but I want you guys to know I'm happy to be here, and I found my joy again.
Also, can we talk about –
and I was like, okay, Jimmy, you kind of cooked there. That was kind of beautiful.
Before you continue, Andrew, can we kind of talk about how funny it was? Joyner, I think when I ran into you at the basketball game, the Westbrook basketball game, we kind of mentioned this. Or maybe it was afterwards. I can't remember. But the fact that the Warriors and the Heat originally stopped Jimmy Butler talks because Jimmy Butler said, if I go to Golden State, I'm not going to sign an extension. And then less than an hour after signing Golden State, he signed a 2-year extension for how much money?
121 freaking million for 2 years? Like, what the crap?
What was that about? How did he just change his mind just like that? Because originally he's like, I wouldn't sign an extension with Golden State. And then he does it it was because he got offered $121 million. I guarantee you that was not the original contract plan.
Yeah, I think money talks. I think money just talks. I think that's got to be what it is. I mean, but yeah.
Hey, guys, look, we're 12 minutes in. Let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks and how DeAndre Hunter – Wait a minute. Hunter's not here anymore. Sorry.
What are we doing?
I just thought that was a good segue.
Joyner, it was, Joyner, I remember the very first episode of this podcast when me and Joyner were just discussing how we both want DeAndre Hunter gone. And then now that because we were not expecting him to have a fully healthy season and to play this freaking good.
Half the season. Be injured. No. Now it's Jalen Johnson who's out for the season. Now it's Trae Young has been dealing with tendinitis. It's been our whole team, but DeAndre Hunter, and he's the one that we trade.
I mean, look, we knew Hunter was good, but who knew he could have been this good with a fully healthy season? So now that he is gone, it's like a tiny little sword just pierced our hearts.
I mean, I apologized to him like 5 episodes ago. I said I was sorry and that I wanted him to stay.
I mean, we didn't mean it, Hunter. We didn't know it was actually going to happen. But look, it's valid. It's a very valid reason to feel this way because over the course of the year, we've seen him develop into the best version of himself. And what made it so crazy to watch in front of our eyes was just essentially he was pointing up all-star worthy numbers off the bench. And then as the trade deadline and all these injuries and the tendinitis started plaguing our team, we saw him get that starting role, and he just elevated his game even more. One of his final games in Atlanta, actually, I think it was the final game in Atlanta, was that ESPN game against the Spurs when Wemby and De'Aaron Fox made their first appearance together in Atlanta. DeAndre Hunter got the starting nod in that game, and oh my goodness, down the stretch was he phenomenal. I mean, the Hawks were getting beat to a pulp against the Spurs, down by almost 20 at halftime. And then the third quarter, Trae Young finally lit the fire that was dim the entire first half. And DeAndre Hunter and company was doing DeAndre Hunter things. I'm talking about the spot-up shooting from the perimeter, the wing, the corner, and then the mid-range game. I mean, what made DeAndre Hunter so extensive this season than what we've seen before is his post moves. I mean, he looked like he had I guess a good comparison would be Tim Duncan, not comparing him to Tim Duncan, but just the post part of his game, I'd say would be Tim Duncan-esque because he was able to use these post moves to make separation, to get these fadeaways. His mid-range spot was insane. He had a new playmaking ability to his game. And that's what made him eye candy in the trade deadline. Of course, last episode we talked about how the Hawks needed to fill the void that Jalen Johnson left with a season-ending injury. Couldn't get our hands on Brandon Ingram. We already knew
because of course the team that screwed us twice back to back, and we watched this personally before the games. The Toronto Raptors. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Andrew, but let me get into this. So, like,
no, you go for it. Go for it, Jordan.
We were favored to get Brandon Ingram right when the trade deadline was coming around the corner. Like, we were probably going to trade Bogey and Capella and some picks for him, but of course the Raptors come in literally like trade day like the night before the trade deadline. Was when we saw that the Raptors were like also trying to we're also in the sweepstakes for Brandon Ingram. So I thought it was like, okay. What could Toronto be offering, and why would they be offering him? Because Toronto has a very bad record, and like I really don't know why I wanted him, other than we screwed us again for the third time. So
is this just a platoon move for the Raptors? Because we can't expect Brandon Ingram at his age.
It's literally a 30-game rental. It's literally a 30-game rental. I don't know why, because Brandon Ingram's a free agent after the year. So like,
it's an expensive 30-game rental. The Raptors, they're kind of building themselves a little bit of a foundation here. Think about it. Scotty Barnes has been incredible since he's touched an NBA court. RJ Barrett, now that he's healthy and he actually is on a team where he can start, he's been pretty nice this year. Grady Dick is turning into a nice little asset. I'm not saying Brandon Ingram has to stay, but I mean, depending on what the Raptors do this offseason, they're going to get a top 10 pick in the draft most likely.
Ooh.
So maybe they can draft a nice piece. It could be Scotty, RJ Barrett, who am I forgetting? Grady Dick, Brandon Ingram. If they can get a better big man, maybe some better bench help. I'm telling you, this is not a Raptors team that next year or the next 2 years you can overlook.
Chase.
Now, but Brandon Ingram, of course, doesn't have to stay. Probably most likely won't stay. Chase, I'm glad you said draft picks because the Raptors do have a lot of draft capital.
Draft capital matters.
Draft capital does matter. And you know what? I was very, very, feeling empty about this Hunter trade. Because, spoiler alert, we traded DeAndre Hunter, if you couldn't tell by the way we were building this up. Hunter got shipped to the Cavaliers for Karis LeVert and Gorgeous Nang, who turns out he's Kyle Korver. I like me some Gorgeous Nang more than I thought I would after watching that Washington game last night.
I remember when he got to Atlanta, Kyle Korver went up to him. He was like, "Hey, man," he's like, "we had our eyes on you. I like you, man. I really do like you." And I'm like, "Well, Korver, I'm glad you like him because I don't even know much about this guy." And now it makes sense. Now we know why Kyle Korver likes this guy.
But of course, DeAndre Hunter comes with a heavy price. So the Cavaliers, in surprising fashion, sent over 3 future second-round picks that span from 27 to 31. That is the draft capital that the Hawks have been thirsty for. That is, as a matter of fact, one of the main reasons why the Hawks and Brandon Ingram trade, the Hawks and Brandon Ingram trade didn't go through because the Hawks were unwilling to get rid of future draft capital because it was already scarce. So this was a big unforeseen move that was involved with the Hunter trade. So I was like, let's go. We lost Hunter, but we got a great defensive forward in Kevin LeVert. And of course, our interior defense has been suffering all season long. So at least we got some special aid in that area. And we got Gorgeous Nang, who has a strap. Now, the Hawks' three-point percentage has been dropping like a fly. So that was much needed for the Hawks, efficiency from beyond the arc. And then we got the 3 second-round future picks. But, Chase, please explain to me why I have such a long face right now.
Because you just sat here and preached how draft capital is huge in any sport, for any team. And especially that getting 3 second-round picks that spanned from 27 to 31 for Atlanta was massive because up until those picks were in our possession, we didn't really have any draft capital until the year 2029. So, to have that 3 extra second-round picks was a really big deal to not just the Hawks organization, but the Hawks fans, because we were getting a little scared. We're getting a little worried over here for the sake of our future, because if we lost some of this young core that we have now, what were we going to do? We couldn't draft somebody, or at least unless we found like a diamond in the rough, because we didn't really have picks to use until 2029. Which is why when that Hunter trade came out, I wasn't really mad about it. I kind of liked it because I didn't expect to get that much draft capital. But then it happened. We shipped Bogey Bogdanovic, which we knew was probably going to happen because he hasn't been the same since 2021, and he had that really bad extension. He was under a really bad contract with Atlanta. So we shipped him to LA. And in return, we get Terrence Mann and the Bones Highland, which we eventually waived. That in itself kind of seems fine because we get rid of Bogey, a bad contract, and we get Terrence Mann, who's a solid bench piece.
I have to step in and say, as a Florida State Seminole fan, I was a huge Terrence Mann fan back when he was in Garnet and Gold. So a part of me was like,
heck yeah, we got Terrence Mann.
Yeah, I was kind of hype about that. I mean, because Bogey hasn't been the same since 21. Chase alluded to that already. And we got a former Seminole. So I know that's a little biased, and not every Hawks fan feels that way because not every Hawks fan is a Florida State fan. But for me, that was kind of cool.
But then I saw something else that was included in that Clippers trade.
And this made it
And I kind of had to go like this. I had to wipe my eyes a little bit and make sure my eyes didn't deceive me. Oh, but they didn't deceive me. We, along with Bogey, just for Terrence Mann and Bones Highland, we gave LA the 3 second-round picks that Cleveland just gave us.
All 3.
And that's it. We didn't get anything else in return. That was it. And I remember when 680 The Fan on their Instagram officially made that post, I was scrolling through the comments, and everybody was losing their mind, and rightfully so, because now in the grand scheme of things, we lost Hunter, we lost Bogey, and we lost 3 second-round picks for Karis LeVert, Gorgeous Niang, and Terrence Mann, which I'm no hate on the players who received, but based on what we gave up, the return doesn't weigh the same. It's much heavier on what we lost versus what we gained, and it just screws our future. And now because of that, Trae Young's future at Atlanta is really foggy right now. But Joyner, we need your thoughts on this, man. Well,
on the I mean, it was tough to see him go, but yes, he was rumored to be in trades and stuff. But also, but I mean, I really don't know what Landry Fields is trying to do because he should know that we don't have our first round pick. We had a first round pick. We do have a pick, but it's not ours. We have the Lakers' first round pick. Yeah, and as we know, the Lakers just got Luka, so they're probably gonna make a finals run.
Yep,
and end up with the 30th pick, which I mean, yes, it's the first round pick, but unless we make a draft night trade back and trade back around into the and trade down into the back into the teens, I really don't know what to say other than I think that we should have done more at the trade deadline, or maybe not done more, gotten more, because I think we could have gotten more for Hunter.
I think so too. And this is something this has been an ongoing problem between Trae Young and Landry Fields since Trae Young's gotten to the league. And this is why it's to the point of the year, it's to the point of the podcast. As Hawks fans, we really have to start discussing Trae Young's future with Atlanta because as it's been said around the world of social media, it is very, very murky right now. And the reason what makes it that way is that Landry Fields continue to refuse and let down Trae Young and the Hawks fan base and the organization for giving Trae Young the help that he needs, because basketball is not a one-man show. Michael Jordan doesn't win all of his finals without Scottie Pippen. LeBron James doesn't beat the 73-win Warriors team without Kyrie Irving and company. Trae Young has never had that atmosphere around him to where he can continue to play at such a high level, but the wins will follow in pursuit. I mean, the Hawks have been right at the mid mark. I mean, quite literally the definition of mid. Since Trae has gone to Atlanta, it's because Landry Fields has not built a firm foundation around such a youthful prospect that we saw from the beginning of his career in Atlanta. And because, of course, when a guy like Trae gets in Atlanta, who was in a very dark spot in the franchise history at the time, you're not going to expect gradual growth around Trae Young until he establishes his game, and then you can find out the pieces that need to come along with him to build the best possible product. Well, what Landry Fields did, once we saw Trae Young take a 2021 Hawks team that, in hindsight, was not that stacked. It just had a lot of good role players that had great chemistry, that knew how to play their position along with Trae Young. I mean, the John Collins dynamic duo was at its core strength. Of course, playoff, we all know what Lou Williams did in the playoff as a six-man off the bench, especially in that Philadelphia series. And after that year, Landry Fields does what at the time being looked like a generational move for Trae Young, and that was to acquire and sign DeJounte Murray, the phenom guard out of San Antonio, to pair with Trae Young. But what the fan base and the media failed to realize was and we saw it with the Brooklyn Nets when James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant were all there. We saw it with the Nets super team when they acquired Kevin Garnett and all those, and Paul Pierce and all those guys. You can't put more than one ball-hungry, ball-enthusiast player on the court at the same time, especially at the two-guard spot. And, of course, that period with DeJounte Murray and Trae was an utter disaster. And now here we are again. Landry Fields is scarcing out the talent away from Trae Young, hoping that the players we have now will gradually build around it. But basketball just doesn't work that way. And Trae Young, I can't be mad at him. He has some urgency now. This is year 7 for him. The success has not really been there unless he's playing the best gosh darn basketball he's ever played before. And what do you can't expect him to just stick around and be patient with something that's not going to evolve. Because if it hasn't evolved in 7 years, it's not going to evolve anymore in 7 more years. So congratulations, Landry Fields.
Well, here's my 2 cents on this. Landry Fields now has the biggest decision he's ever had to make since being the Hawks GM this upcoming offseason, because we all know Trae Young's contract ends in 2026. So you look at the situation now here with the Hawks. You have a player like Trae Young who is verbally stated, he's made it verbally known that he's getting to the point of his career where he wants to compete, meaning that the Hawks have to go through another rebuilding process. I put quotations around rebuilding because there wouldn't be much rebuilding, because we do have a good foundation behind Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels now. I love Keenan Wallace,
Muhammad Gay.
So
I'll tell you, we'll get in a Muhammad Gay rant in a minute. Love that kid.
There is a really nice foundation here in Atlanta, so it wouldn't be much of a rebuild, but it wouldn't be a compete now situation either. But Trae Young has made it verbally known that he's at a point in his career where he doesn't want to go through that rebuild anymore. He wants to compete now. So now this offseason's coming around. You're in a situation where you don't have a lot of draft capital until 2029. You have a player like Trae Young that's ready to compete now. You're not in that compete now situation. This pains me to say. It really does. I kind of want to like how you want to say something, but you can't really get it out of your mouth because it just sucks. I don't expect Trae Young to be a Hawk next year. And if Landry, I'm going to say this: if Landry Fields is a smart GM, knowing what the state of the Hawks' future right now, what you need to do is you don't need to make the same mistake. I'm going to make a baseball reference here. You do not need to make the same mistake that Los Angeles Angels made when they had Shohei Ohtani. You have nowhere to go future-wise. You have a player that teams will be biting at the seams for. Don't wait for his contract to be over, knowing there's a good chance he doesn't re-sign. Take advantage of what you have now. If I'm Landry Fields, this offseason, I'm trading Trae Young for as much draft capital as I can and probably a really nice piece in addition, because there is plenty of teams who are willing to offer that. But at this point of the stage, you cannot risk allowing Trae Young's contract to resign, knowing good and well he's probably not going to resign. And plus, it gets rid of the fact if you do that, you don't have to pay Trae the big bucks. But instead, you can continue to let Jalen Johnson develop, all these young pieces develop, and then give Jalen Johnson a nice contract when his time has come. And then just worry about the future. Build for the future, because there's not much you can do now. And it sucks to say, but Landry Fields, let me know what you think in the comments about this, because I know you watch the show. But if you're a smart GM, that's what you need to do. Jordan, what's your thoughts on Trae Young's future?
I think Jay summed it up perfectly. I wrote on see Trae Young finishing staying much longer as a Hawk unless we fix something like now, which now means this offseason and this draft, which I know we don't have any good draft pieces, but we have to fix something this offseason, or else Trae's going to be pissed off and leave the following season. And if we don't, then we got then what Chase said, we trade him, and we get like as much as we can, and we don't lowball. We gotta.
Yep.
We have Trae Young. We need to get the pieces that we need. If we want to trade him, then we ask for what we want.
Absolutely.
Not for what. Not for. Don't let these other crappy organizations lowball. It's like. Honestly, don't ship them to Los Angeles because they're gonna fleece us.
Because that's what they do.
Don't let Rob Pelinka say that Trae Young weighs like 240 when he weighs like 210.
Yeah, just add 30 pounds to Trae Young, and then the Lakers would be biting at the teeth for him. But and another thing that we didn't really touch on about the whole issue between Landry Fields and Trae Young, I shouldn't really say Landry Fields because this really doesn't pertain to Landry, because it's not like he was making bad moves. It's just the moves that he made wasn't work out. But the coaching carousel has been put a huge toll on the Hawks' of growth over the years. I mean, just to name a few. I mean, of course, extending from Lloyd Pierce, but
Mike Budenholzer. I cannot think of Mike Budenholzer's name. Sorry, from Mike Budenholzer, and then the guy from the Trailblazers. That he was our head coach during the playoff run.
Indiana. He came from Indiana,
but he played he coached for the Trailblazers too.
Nate McMillan.
Nate McMillan. I can't ever remember his name.
Yeah, and then Lloyd Pierce, and then now we're here with.
Why'd you bring Lloyd Pierce up? Oh my God, it was terrible.
That was a rough time. And then of course now Quinn Snyder, which I do think Quinn Snyder's showing a lot of better signs.
I love Quinn Snyder, I really do.
But when you have a star player that can't continue to find success with the same head coach, every time you get a new head coach in charge, it's a reset button. And I think Trae Young's just tired of hitting the reset button in more than one way.
He's in year 7 of his NBA career. He can't go through another reset.
And not to mention that this is arguably the best year Trae Young's ever had. And now is not the time for him to be struggling to get over the 500 mark. I mean, January 18th was the last win the Hawks had before we went on a terrible 8-game slide. And I want to put asterisks, in front and at the end of that sentence, because the 8-game losing streak did have a lot to do with Jalen Johnson not on the court, Dyson Daniels not on the court,
Clint Capella missing the
not
time
on the court. I mean, especially after the back-to-back losses against the Raptors, there was games against the Timberwolves and the Rockets that were really led by players like Keaton Wallace, Vitt, Garrison Matthews.
But we lost both those games because of a lack of offense.
And Muhammad Gay. I mean, like I said, we'll talk about Muhammad Gay here in a minute. He's been absolutely incredible. And then that game in Cleveland where DeAndre Hunter and Zachary Richardson, oh my goodness, has he finally put his tongue on the ice cream of, hey, I am a first overall pick potential guy. He is on a tear this month of February.
Remember earlier in the season when they were asking him about like his rookie season, he was like, in France, I was a big star, but now I'm just a regular guy. Zachary Richey, right now you are no longer just a regular guy, but you are a thriving, rising star in this league.
I mean, the span between the Rockets, Cavs, and Pacers game, he scored a combined 84 points between those 3 games. And in that game against the Cavs, he shot 15 for 15 from the field. He did not miss a single point, and it was his second career 30-point game. And then we had the game against the Pistons when the Hawks finally put an end to the 8-game skid off an insane game-winning shot by Trae Young. And, of course, look. It's my dang wallpaper now. I know it's kind of blurry.
No, it's not too.
No way. Okay, I don't have that.
It's very hard to see it, but like
I still have Trae Young's full court shot against Utah as my wallpaper.
Chase, go ahead and explain what happened, and I'll help you guys out for a minute.
So the whole game, the story behind the picture, that's Malik Beasley.
Another Florida State boy, by the
former Seminole. I love that guy. But the story behind that picture is that they were barking at each other the entire game. And to be honest, that last possession, the Hawks were inbounding on their end of the court, final seconds of the game, of a tied game. By the way, it was a horribly drawn-up play. Listen to Trae Young kind of explain it here. I'm going to wait for Andrew to pull it up, and I'll kind of walk us through as the video's playing. It'll make more sense so y'all can kind of see what I'm talking about. But basically, yeah, that's Malik Beasley. That train was stepping over. They were arguing the entire game, getting in each other's face, and it was Malik Beasley guarding Trae Young on his final possession. Joyner, can you see this okay?
Yeah, I can see it perfectly.
Okay, so you see 13 seconds left. The Hawks just inbound their ball after a timeout. Malik Beasley's on him. Now, the game plan was for Trae Young to catch it, if you pause it for a minute. Trae Young originally had that ball beyond half court because, like the Hawks like to do. Quinn Snyder told Trae, you're going to get the ball past half court. I want you to dribble it up. We're going to create space. As you see, Hunter, Vitz, Dyson Daniels are on the other side of the court. Of course, you have a Kongu inside a little bit just in case he misses, he can get a rebound. But besides that, there is so much space for Trae Young. And all Quinn Snyder said was, Trae, I want you to go to town, and I want you to make some magic happen. And I'm going to hand it to Malik Beasley here. This entire possession, Malik was clamping down Trae Young. Trae kept trying to go inside on him, and he absolutely could not. So in all honesty, here with 5 seconds left, 3 seconds left on the shot clock, Trae has nowhere to go. He's trying to drive left. Malik Beasley shuts it down. So the way Trae describes it is he knew the shot clock was winding down. So he does a spin move so he could get the ball back to his right hand, takes a step back to create as much space as possible, and then throws up a heave. And look at this.
Well,
I can't believe it.
Well, I was going to say, before you say that, and you could even hear on the Hawks broadcast, Bob Rathburn say like clock's become like he was kind of like getting a little urgent. He was like, the clock's really becoming a factor, kind of essentially saying like, Trae, what are you doing? Like, you're just playing around at the top of the key, like drive in, take a step back, do something. Because like you said, Malik Beasley was over him like white on rice. But of course, Trae does what Trae has always done best.
So you see 7 seconds left, 3 on the shot clock now. The spin move, ball back to his right hand, step back. Running, nothing but net. Malik Beasley falls on the ground. You can't really see it from this angle. But Trae Young just absolutely steps over him. They gave him a 3 originally, but it was clearly a 2. Doesn't matter. We won regardless. But Joyner, tell us about this moment, man. What did you take from it? As we'll let this video keep playing so we can see a replay of that step over.
I seriously don't know why Trae was snubbed from the All-Star. I seriously don't know why he was an All-Star snub. I don't know why he's not a front runner. I don't know why he's not in top 5 for MVP voting.
Mr. Allen Iverson right there.
Yeah, Mr. AI right there. I don't know why he wasn't selected for the 3-point contest. That's insane in itself. Because we all know, we all know. I've seen like how many like clutch 3-pointers he's hit this season. I I don't know. I'm just hoping that since Giannis has been declared they can't compete in the All-Star game. I hope that Trae Young can sneak in, and I hope that he at least wins clutch player of the year. Like he at least deserves that award.
Of course.
Yeah, but
and this happened to Trae Young last. Jordan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I was going to say this happened to Trae Young last year. Remember, Trae Young was, of course, snubbed last year, but ended up making the All-Star game because Joel Embiid couldn't play, and Trae Young was the guy to replace him. So it kind of, I mean, it sucks because, I mean, I know Trae Young's just coming in as like a cover-up man, even though we all know not only last year, but especially this year, Trae Young deserved to be – if you're not going to say he's a starter, at least a reserve. I mean, it's insane. So I mean, I would love to see Trae make the All-Star game just so he can have that to his title like it deserves. But at the same time, I'll kind of be like, are you kidding me? Like, did this man deserve to be in the first place? Don't give me this. Oh, look, Trae Young's an All-Star now. Well, so glad. No, don't give me this. You didn't want him here in the first place. You know, it's like we all know he deserves it. Just put him in, man. And it's not necessarily NBA's fault, man. I mean, it is the NBA's fault. It is because they gave the fans too much vote, and the fans don't care about numbers. They care about popularity. Most fans do, and that's why the selections are the way they are because of popularity.
And that's not fair to the players because it's taking away accolades from the players who deserve it the most, who's been head over heels on the court. And then you got guys who are doing near nothing like Zaza Pachulia getting the second most votes by the fans. Like that right there should have told you that this system is flawed. Sure, give the fans something. Don't give them 50% of the power. Give them 25%. Like 50% is just unbelievably stupid. Yeah. But yeah, and then of course the Hawks finally snapped their 8-game losing streak off that. Another game winner that you could add to Trae Young's long list of game winners throughout his career. Then we had a tough come from behind game against the Spurs where we made an incredible second half comeback and fell short by 1 point to the Wemby and De'Aaron Fox era of the San Antonio Spurs. But then we came back, stayed at home in Atlanta, and the Black History Month game against the Milwaukee Bucks. Another second half comeback. I mean, the Bucks won the second quarter 47-19, and then the Hawks turned around in the third quarter as they always do and win that 37-17. And you had some standout performances. Now, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't play in this game, but you still had 26 dropped by Dame. Bobby Portis, my goodness, was he on a tear? 26 points for the Bucks.
This is also the Bucks' first game without Chris Middleton post trade deadline era. So this was
because Chris also got traded.
Yeah,
we didn't mention that, but I mean, like it wasn't that big of a hype up because where it went, but
right.
And this was the first game for the Hawks post trade deadline moves, but of course, Taurean Prince, Jordan Niang, and Karis LeVert did not play in this game.
So you said Taurean Prince.
So, excuse me, Terrence Mann. We haven't had Prince in a minute, but 24 points from Trae Young. 15 points and 10 assists from Dyson Daniels. That was awesome to see. Zachary had kind of a quiet night at Kongwu, had a 14-point, 12-rebound game. And all out, it was just a phenomenal second-half effort by the Atlanta Hawks. And it was funny. We were eating Jefferson's with a buddy from high school, and he doesn't really watch a lot of basketball. So they had the Hawks team up in Jefferson's, and the Hawks were getting beat by like 19, and he was like, "Oh my goodness!" He was like, "It was like midway through the second quarter." He was like, "Why are the Hawks always so far behind?" I was like, "Dude, listen. I watch a lot of Hawks basketball. I promise you, by the fourth quarter, it's going to be within a 5-point game." Fourth quarter started, Hawks were down by 3, and the Hawks ended up winning.
I think you have the script, Andrew. I think it's a script.
But I was like, dude, I've seen the Hawks do this time in and time out. And then we went to Washington last night where the newcomers officially made their Hawks debut. Now, the Hawks had all in all a very comfortable game against the Wizards. Of course, everyone knows we account for 2 of the Wizards' 9 wins because we lost a back-to-back against them early in the year. Something about the Hawks playing back-to-backs against terrible teams is a recipe for disaster when it comes to Atlanta. But I have to say, Trae Young, I don't want to boast on his performance too much because I want to talk about the newcomers, but 35 points, 14 assists on 13 of 26 shooting. Trae Young, phenomenal showing in Washington. But the highlight that I want to talk about is let's talk about a guy that I don't think we talk about a lot at all. Gorgeous Nang from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Even in the broadcast, the color commentary, I can't remember her name because Dominique, I think, is sick. And Brian Oliver was doing the post game. So I don't know who this chick was, but she talked about when Gorgeous Nang in the third quarter made 4 straight threes on 4 straight possessions. She alluded to none other than Jesus Kyle Korver. And that's exactly what he was. 4 for 7 shooting from beyond the arc, 16 points. And then Karis LeVert had 9 points and 3 rebounds. Not really a good defensive game from Karis LeVert, but we saw that his presence was made known in the paint, and that was good enough for me. And then Terrence Mann, he was more on the quiet end of the spectrum, 4 points with just 3 assists on 2 of 5 shooting. But I have to say, Trae Young made a comment at the end of the game and said that there's, oddly enough, kind of a different energy with the Hawks post-trade deadline, almost like a sense of urgency that the Hawks need to fight to the death because they know that Trae Young's future is uncertain. And even Larry Nance said after the game that the Hawks are fighters and that the NBA has to understand that the Hawks are going to fight until the end of the season. So do not be surprised if the Hawks go on an absolute tear in the second half of the season because the Hawks have that urgency to fight. And I had to say, we are 2-0 post a trade deadline. We go to Orlando on Monday to play the injury-riddled Magic, and this is actually a really big game for the Hawks because if the Hawks still win in Orlando, we go from 9th to 8th in the Eastern Conference. And, of course, that's only 2 spots away from being out of the play-in. So, very important game in Orlando.
Yeah.
But Andrew pretty much just said everything. So going back to Gorgeous Niang, that's why it's so nice having a guy like Kyle Korver in the front office because he knows when to find a shooter. And, it's kind of funny because, Gorgeous Niang, the Hawks posted this on their Instagram when they interviewed Gorgeous Niang after the game. Or actually, no, it was before the game, before he made his Hawks debut. They asked him, they're like, what's your favorite thing about Quinn Snyder so far? And he said, Quinn Snyder just instills confidence in every single guy on the court. And he said, me especially, he just tells me, let it fly. He was like, he knows I'm a shooter, and all he wants me to do is to go out there, don't be scared to shoot, and let it fly. And he said, and I love that because, it's showing me that the coach has confidence that I'm going to do what I love to do. And he said, and it's just nice having a coach not restricting your talents. Because, a lot of these coaches will want you to find a smart shot, will want you to do a little more like team involvement, which Quinn Snyder's not telling him not to do that, but he's basically telling Gorgeous Niang, if you think you're going to make the shot, shoot the freaking shot. And then he did that in his Hawks debut, and that's exactly what happened. He knew he was going to make the shot. He shot it, and Buddy went absolutely crazy beyond the arc. And I think this is just a small little taste of the type of player Gorgeous Niang is going to be for the Hawks. I thought you were going to say something, Jordan. Sorry.
No, I was not.
But yeah, that's so. I applaud. I guess our Hawks organization for getting Gorgeous Niang, but most importantly, Quinn Snyder. That's what I love about Quinn Snyder, man. Yeah. Buddy does not restrict your talents. He knows what you're good at, and he lets you thrive in that area. And that's not only important for just players in general, but especially when you're coaching a team that still has a lot of young pieces. That's going to be really big for them down the road. Yeah, I think that's a big reason Jalen Johnson has turned into the player he's been as well.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll say is I think the biggest change we need is we need to get rid of our medical staff. Right? And I know it's random, but
hey man,
the injuries is the biggest reason as to why we're losing. Always big games is because we can't stay healthy and we need to stay healthy if we want to start winning games if there's a problem we gotta get rid of them. I know that's random that's something that I've noticed the Braves too we can't stay healthy with the Braves either
Atlanta,
I don't
man.
blame them, but like
Atlanta sports, man.
Yeah.
We don't thrive in our training staff, I guess. We thrive in the varsity hot dogs and mediocre teams
and horrible traffic.
Yeah, that's the three big things about Atlanta. But yeah, I mean, guys, I think we covered the full length of the stretch in this episode. Things that we have missed.
We're gonna be all right, guys. We're gonna be all right.
We'll be fine.
It's heavy on the hearts, but we got to keep pushing forward and got to hope something happens. And, if this is the last year we see of Trae Young, then let's enjoy every moment he's on the court,
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe Keaton Wallace is the second coming of Trae Young. You just never know.
Or maybe we draft Bryce James. Who knows?
Bryce James. Oh gosh. Hey, I want.
Hey, we'll get all kinds of media attention. That's for sure.
Yeah. We might even get LeBron.
Here's the thing. Let's draft Bryce. Trade him to LA for Bronny and LeBron.
And we had the father and son duo, the trio, the father and son trio. Dude, y'all just realized, why are we all stressed? Atlanta did something that we haven't even talked about. We got Brittany Griner, boys. We got Brittany Griner, man.
Didn't we also get someone else as well?
I don't know. I just care about Brittany Griner.
Man, was she like a 7-9 time All-Star?
6'9", but she can dunk though. She can dunk
she can dunk, and she's got a deeper voice than all of us.
We're gonna start a dream podcast, y'all.
We should.
We're gonna start a dream podcast, baby.
Fire that, even.
Yes. Dream.
The Hawks and Dream, baby.
Yeah.
We can call it Dream. We can call it Dream Come True.
Or we can call it Wet Dreams.
We need to go to a dream game.
Yeah, I don't think Jason.
That should be a fantasy football punishment. Dream game.
That's cruel. That's cruel, bro. That is cruel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, maybe not now that we have Brittany Griner. Hey, man, that could be a good thing now.
We're a WNBA city now, man. We're a WNBA city. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to episode 15. Oh, Chase is pulling up something on YouTube. Okay, I'll do the outro, then I'll see what Chase.
No, I want you to do the outro as this is playing.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
No. I'm going to play video, and then you do the outro.
Oh, he's going to play video, and then I do the outro? I cannot tell you. Oh gosh. Okay. I think I know where this is going. No. That's the WNBA highlights. Is that what you're looking for?
What do you think I was going to look for?
Oh, just her misses.
Misses? Buddy, she's a baller.
Okay, she is a baller. My bad. Okay. Sorry, guys. His share screen. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay.
Go ahead, Andrew. End the video.
Thank you
highlights
so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 15 of the Talkin ATL Hawks /Dream podcast. We will see you guys next Sunday, and hopefully, instead of an 8-game losing streak, by this time next week, we will be on a 5-game win streak. Back at 5. Hey! This is the future.
When we traded those Russian,
the merchant of death. Yo, she's a merchant of death on the court, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
Russia when we traded.
While Brittany Griner's catching bodies on the court, the merchant of death is catching bodies in Russia. Everyone's a winner. But yeah, guys.
We fleeced Russia when we traded for Brittany for the Russian. Serial killer or something. I don't know what. I'm not going to get political, but like, yeah.
It's just facts. What is this? Was this a dunk contest? Please don't tell me that's a dunk contest.
Hey, but let's be real. That's better than the last couple of years of NBA's dunk contest. Let's not joke around here.
You're not wrong. Quite literally, you're not wrong. But we will see you guys next week.
Next week.